Hey, what's going on? I'm Cozy, and where the hell am I? I'm not Alex, but Alex is here. We've got another episode of the Snapchat. We're going to be talking about our biggest token shop regrets. We're also going to be talking about the developer's roadmap and the cards with the best value. Now, where the hell is Alex, guys? Alex is right here, but he is under the weather today, but still showing up for his community. I'll be carrying the load a little bit more. What's up, Alex?
Oh, buddy, that was the best intro of all time. Like that intro, you couldn't see me. I was laughing the entire time. I had to be muted because I could barely breathe. Absolutely fantastic, Cozy. Thank you so much, buddy.
I just need my Adidas like sweater on and say and have my confetti that pops up whenever I make a big play, and I'd be right at home, buddy. Well, guys, welcome to another episode of the Snapchat. We said it on my channel, but happy holidays, happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, any of those other ones I don't even know about. This will be our last episode before the holiday season, and then we can squeeze one more in before the new year. Alex, we got a lot of great subjects to talk about on my channel. We talked about consistent and reliable high winning cube cards. Ben Brode has a watch list and the nerfed cards that are to come. And then all the new bundles, deals, the winterverse that are coming and that have come to Marvel Snap, and the new cards in the game. Alex, what are we talking about today on your channel?
I mean, we're going to be talking about the biggest token shop regrets. We're also going to be talking about the developer roadmap, which was just updated, and it brings a lot of major changes to Marvel Snap. And then finally, we're going to talk about cards with huge value, cards you want to lean on to play to kind of have the biggest impact on the board state.
Well, Alex, it's great to be here again. I know that this is going to happen in the future. I'm going to be sick, and I know you'll handle it and take on the load then. So, guys, let's go ahead and break down our first subject. Before we get to that, we both want to say thank you so much. We're at number 4 on Charting Podcast. That's just incredible, and it's a huge testament, and thanks to you guys. Again, audio listeners, you already know this. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, everywhere where you can listen to us on audio. But for the video viewers and audio viewers, we've got ourselves a great first topic, Alex. Now, Alex, it's the Christmas season. We all have buyer's remorse, all right? We all regret buying things, and yes, you can return them on Amazon, but in Marvel Snap, there is no returns in the token shop, and I know plenty of our viewers can relate with this. Token shop regrets. I think we have some good conversation around this. We're going to talk about our biggest regrets, and then, guys, we want to hear from you. If you're watching on YouTube, put them in the comments. Who do you wish you didn't buy? Audio listeners, just shout it out to the ether. So let's go to start, Alex. I'll allow you. I feel like you're going to say Thanos, but what do you've got for me? What do you have? What is your biggest token shop regret?
Oh, first thing I got to say is last week, we absolutely tore apart M'Baku, and there was a comment on YouTube that said, yo, I just unlocked M'Baku with my tokens. I think I regret my decision. So shout out to that dude.
Moment of silence. For you. Moment of silence.
I didn't make that decision. I didn't make that mistake. However, I want to say Thanos. I did spend 6K on Thanos. It has felt a little underwhelming. But what I'm going to tell you, Cozy, is I'm going to hit you with a bit of a curveball.
Okay.
I think I regret all of it. And I think that every single card I've bought on the token shop, because I have Pool 3 complete, so I'm buying Collection 4, Collection 5 cards, or Series 4, or Series 5 cards. And every time I've done it, I have had this major buyer's remorse. Because, like, I cannot farm these tokens fast enough. And now I'm in a situation where, like, every new card coming out, like, yeah, I want to play with them so bad. But, like, if I buy Sentry, or if I buy Darkhawk, that means I don't buy anything in basically January. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't even know what's coming in January. So I'm in this situation where I feel like I'm, like, in this catatonic state where, like, I'm scared to spend my tokens because I barely have any. And I've had Null pinned since day 2 when he was released, and I felt like I could not pull the trigger on those tokens because they're so scarce. I'm going like 1,000 collection level. I only unlocked one card, Nick Cage, in 1,000 collection level. I'm not unlocking cards in the natural progression. I have to rely on these collector's tokens. So what do? Unlock one card a month? It's like, it's stressful, honestly. I don't even know how to explain it.
Yeah,
it's legitimately stressful.
I can understand that. I think anything in life that has high purchase amount comes with buyer's remorse to some degree. Like, even in real life, if you buy something that's super expensive, it doesn't even matter if it's that nice car that you've always wanted. You're like, damn, I spent a lot of money on that, right? So, like, anything in life with high, cost account, I think that kind of feels, and this is our currency, right? So that's natural to feel. I definitely actually understand a lot of what you're saying to a huge degree. I would say that it's kind of interesting because, yeah, you need to know what you want to get and really stand by it. And I have a take on that. But one thing I'll say is, thank God for data mining and the fact that we can see some cards that are coming out so that we can at least, like, I knew to buy Null because I'm okay with not having Sentry or Darkhawk. But I agree. And that's more of like a token shop issue, right? The collector's token issue. You know, if they never introduced it, we would never have this problem. But at the same time, it's super helpful to the game. But it does. It has you kind of with this feeling of like, what do I buy, right? Because I'm going to say it flat out, Alex. Just because it's an S tier card or a great card, maybe you don't buy it. Sherry, fantastic. In fact, I would probably say to buy Sherry, but Sherry, fantastic card. But do you enjoy playing Sherry, right? Do you enjoy playing the card that you're buying? Because if you don't, you're not going to play it that much, and then you're definitely going to have that remorse, and you should have just gotten, let's say, the Galactus because you knew you're going to play that style of deck.
One thing I will say is, like, I don't regret buying Thanos, for instance. Like, you talked about Thanos. Thanos was a card that I think brings something so unique to the game that even though I still think he's absolute garbage, and you can't convince me otherwise, you've tried so many times before. Thanos is a dumpster fire that, like, just keeps burning. And
Push the
I don't
dagger
regret
in.
it because
Just keep pushing the dagger in. Like, Thanos is bad. He's a dumpster fire. I hate this card. Anyway, don't mean to speak ill of your mother on Christmas. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead and, go ahead.
if I wish Thanos was the kind of card that he's a 1-drop. He's a 1/1, like Bast. Except when you play him, he just deletes half your deck and you just GG out and leave. He'd be better.
Okay. Yeah, so who do you wish you could buy?
Throwing Coccia off so much.
Just like, ouch.
If I could buy anybody, I think, honestly, it sounds wild, but I keep looking at a Tuma and I'm like, I should just buy this card. Like, I actually think it might be cool.
Yeah,
I know it sounds crazy. I even skipped on a Tuma. And now I'm like, I actually think I might want to buy a Tuma because he's only 3,000 credits. He's only 3,000 tokens. The series I bought, okay, for instance, I bought Super Scroll. Talk about instant regret. Like, I was so upset with myself. I bought it because I thought it'd be cool. And then, like, just no one plays ongoing lists right now. And then the dude plays like Patriot. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, what do I do with this Patriot now? Like, it's like even better. Like, imagine they play like Professor X and you just locked down 2 lanes by accident. It's like, I don't know, Super Scroll. I bought it and, like, in practice, it's been like super, super underwhelming. So that's probably actually, to answer your question properly, is my biggest regret. Even far more than Thanos. It is definitely Super Scroll, but
yeah. If I were answering 2 questions here, I would say, first of all, if you guys want to know, like, my opinion, you probably don't. But if you want to know what I think is the best, like, cards that I would purchase currently for the value that you're going to be getting, and I don't know what's going down from 5 to 4 and any of that stuff. Just as pure value, what I've bought and I do not regret in the slightest is She-Hulk, Absorbing Man, and Shuri. All 3 of those I use all the time. You can plug them into multiple decks and, period. Those are great cards. I don't regret any of those, and definitely they're at the top of my list. If you want to look at all my purchases, I've done Thanos as well, Valkyrie, and I believe that's all the ones that I've been fortunate enough to be able to grab. If I were to look at one, I guess Valkyrie, and it's not because I don't love her, and I actually think I'm going to play her a ton. She was my first purchase too, and I think it goes back, well, Thanos actually was, but it goes back to, like, wanting to get the new cards and test it out. But right now, just in my current playstyle, I'm not playing her. Do I still think she's easily one of the best choices to buy? Probably. She's control. She fits into most decks. But just like that, 6,000 is so much, dude. It's so much tokens.
It's so much.
You really got to know, what you are going to commit to. I'll say this, I wish this was around when I was in pool 3. Like, goodness, I got my whole collection before I was able to purchase anything from the token shop. Like 1,000 buys for a Mystique. I want that dopamine rush, man. I do. I want that dopamine rush, and it probably feels worse with your card cycles because you're going to get the rock slides or whatever in there, and not get cards that you want. But overall, those would probably be my biggest, that would be my biggest regret. And just buying cards that fit my playstyle. I think that's really what I want to make sure that I do moving forward, especially with, like, the new cards coming out. Don't always get something because it's the new toy. I did buy Null. don't regret it. I think Nola is going to be fun down the line. I think it's a card that I'll eventually buy. I don't think he's going down to 4. I just don't see that for the king of symbiotes. Where the heck's my Nola? There he is. I don't regret him. I think he's a good card. And that's what I'm trying to do is if a card seems to be really defining for that archetype, I don't think it's a bad purchase. Shuri made too much sense. She-Hulk does, and Absorbing Man as well. So let us know down below, or, again, shout it to the ether. I hate this purchase if you're listening on audio. That'll be probably our shorter subject today because we've got some big ones coming up. Alex, we got our roadmap. They teased it. They talked about it. They released it. The developer's roadmap for what is coming out, and we've got for our visuals, you guys can go ahead and see. We've got ourselves it up on the screen. We're going to read it out for you guys as well. Alex, let's go ahead and start with the coming soon, and we'll break it down kind of by each title, and then we'll talk about it together here. So here's the roadmap if you haven't seen it. Guys, essentially coming soon are things that are almost out or they're about to be pushed out. In development means that they can change dramatically, but they are working and committing devs to the subject. And in concept, means it's something they want to try to do in the future or something that they're looking into. So coming soon, Alex. Name changes, cool. Artist credits, very important. More language support, love it. But let's talk battle mode versus friends, my man.
Yeah, this is by far the biggest change in Marvel Snap. This opens up an entire esports scene. This opens up entire community-based events, which I know you're excited for. I'm excited for. Pretty much everyone in Marvel Snap's excited for. One would go to say that I think this is the biggest feature in Marvel Snap. Like, this is by far the biggest release. Like, this is almost, in my books, the equivalent of a 1.0 release. Like, the battle system is momentous for Marvel Snap. It is the missing cog in this machine, and I can't wait to get my hands on it.
100%. Thought it was going to be something that would come out with launch, and that's why I was surprised on the release date with it. But what I can say confidently is this will change a million things. You can test without risking cubes. You can now play your friends just to say who has a better deck. There's endless content creation, which I'll talk about in a moment. I've seen comments like, hey, no big deal, but like, hey, I don't have friends to play this game with. Like, cool, this isn't that great. Hey, guys, that is why we got some awesome communities. So again, Alex has a great Discord. I've got a Discord. You can find places to play, and there's great people that just love the game, amongst other things and other conversations. And so if you're looking to play with those people or play against people, we're going to definitely both be encouraging that a ton. Alex, I think that you hit the nail on the head. I'm diving all in on this in big ways. I'm working on some actually huge projects, like the biggest things I've ever done in my life as a creator behind this new battle mode, and things that I'm trying to take on that I'm a little bit intimidated by, but I'm super excited to get launched. But even in a more simple sense, I'm just so pumped to be able to face you in a creators clash, to face other creators. We just did that spotlight video with those other creators. And it's going to be difficult, Alex, because I know we're going to want to put that here in the Snapchat for you viewers, but since it's podcast, we'll probably put that on another video. Alex, what is probably the most exciting feature of the Friends mode? Like, what are you looking forward to do the most?
I mean, I think it has to be community tournaments. Like, the ability to organize community tournaments. Like, imagine, we have like one bracket, which is like my community going through a tournament and we got a winner. And then you have a bracket that's like, your community is going through, you have a winner. And then we get the winner of both communities in a mega fight for the mega battle for the ultimate championship, which is, I don't know, man, maybe a signed Nick Fury card.
Boom. Yeah, I think, altogether, man, I think being able to do creators tournaments, being able to do viewer tournaments, community tournaments is so big. The videos are going to be so much fun to showcase. Yeah. You guys want more gameplay videos from all creators? This is going to do it massively and make streaming a lot more enjoyable. I'm excited to also like be able to show some testing of decks and theorycraft, and I can't tell you, I've probably lost like 40 ranks, 50, 60 ranks in my time of being a creator by just trying to get footage on something that I need or something like that. So that's going to be something interesting too. I think it dilutes it. I hope there's something even in the middle. Like if they crop it, you can't tell if they're doing a friend battle or not. So it's going to be a bit more interesting on decks that people are going to try to spin maybe or whatever, but we'll have to see, how that works competitively. And then the highest kind of top tier competitive play is by far what I'm looking forward to the most, and I'll be dipping into, Alex. And so big feature coming to the game, a lot of opportunity, a lot of fun. I think it's going to bring a lot of fun to the game, and I think what people are most excited for without question. So Any
The
other
other thing to
subjects?
add there
Yeah.
is that with the battle mode, the deck building in a 1v1 battle situation is totally different than
Yes.
deck building for a ladder. So I think it creates a huge, huge opportunity for deck builders to start really experimenting with lists and designs specific to facing someone once, twice, possibly three times, and extorting as many cubes from them as you can.
Yeah, I think currently when they first released it, they confirmed like, hey, we are going to do one deck across 3 different battles. They didn't really dip into it as much on this last post, so I'm thinking like I don't know if they changed that up. I'm gonna be curious on what they did with that. But yeah, like it's going to be insane because you got to play cards with huge value that can counter a large pool of majority, but not as big as a ladder play, and it's man, it's gonna be nuts. And then talk about competitive, like it's like knowing your opponent, what they like to play. What you've seen them play in the past. It's so fun in a 12 card deck game, and it's just going to introduce craziness to the content of Marvel Snap.
Yeah, I was under the assumption that it wasn't a set number of games, but rather you had like HP, and by snapping, you're betting your
Yes,
HP, and if
yes,
you lose that HP.
yes. You're correct. Sorry, I thought I read somewhere there was 3, but yes, I think it's like you have 10 health, and once you get down to 0, it's over. So how many times that takes, it would be how it works. You are correct there. I'm interested to see what that looks like. They did say it'd be about a month. I would expect it probably in mid-January. If I were to take a stab, mid-January, maybe even the beginning of February is when it'll pop out. And once it's out, great. It's worth the wait. I've seen people like, why can't they just give it to us? They want to do it right, and I'm here for waiting, for that moment. And it gives you guys a chance to get more cards, right? I would say by February, man, people are going to be pretty deep into at least the cards and decks that they want to have. And you can finally, again, just like, kick your uncle's teeth in or your best friend who thinks his weird, helicarrier deck is good. But those are going to be by far the biggest things about the battle system. So pulling up the roadmap again, that battle mode will be a health system instead of cubes. You can risk your health points, and it goes down over time for people that don't know how that works. We've got the in development section. Now, Alex, this is going to be talking about the PC widescreen UI. We have smart decks, unranked mode, and new competitive modes. Now, unranked mode is going to be friend battles, but just on a ladder, I think is what we're looking at there, probably. Kind of curious how they do that with the health system and how that looks like over time, Alex, overall. But pick, I know PC widescreen is important to you. Is that what you're most excited for?
Yeah, most definitely. For me, like the other stuff's really interesting. I think the smart decks is really helpful for players trying to get started. Card games are really complex, and just getting started with some deck archetypes, I think, is super helpful. But without question, I think the PC UI is massive. This game can't go 1.0 on PC. It can't leave early access until that widescreen UI is just polished. It has to be present. Right now, we're basically playing a glorified emulator we talked about in the past.
Yeah, so it's funny. There's things that I kind of wish were on there. Like for smart decks, for example, definitely that has to be a business decision. I think that on their end, they're saying like, what new players? Why are they leaving the most? They're probably overcame by the anxiety of deck building, something like that, possibly. It's huge for new players, and I love that. And people that are undecisive a bit. I want to see how it works out. I'll say that I'm not like crazy about that's where like a lot of development time went to. I think there's some other things that probably could have taken that time if I'm just looking at it as something that I would want. But as a like global scale of new players and being accessible to all and everything like that, 100% okay. Love that about the smart decks. But if I was looking at it with like, just choice time that developers have, probably would have picked some other subjects there. UI, absolutely. Let's see what that looks like. Thought maybe that would have been in the other category of coming, quicker, but that means they're really probably working on something big behind that. If it was a simple, just stretch it out, make it look good, they would have done it already, right? And then for the other thing we've got, which I think is pretty interesting, we've got the new competitive modes. Just kind of threw that out there, didn't talk much about that. Unranked, anytime you can test a deck, again, if you don't have a lot of friends to play with or don't want to link with communities, that's going to be great. What do you think is the new competitive modes, man? That's huge.
I mean, as someone who like loves auto battlers, I really hope they have some sort of auto battler. I mean, that is like a whole different game almost. So I'm sure that might be a little further down the list. But I mean, the battle system, the idea of facing someone with a set number of cubes or health, just like the friends battles, if you incorporate that into its own separate ladder, call it something different, that could be very interesting. Obviously there could be tournament-based modes. Like I remember, oh my god, I'm forgetting. Is it StarCraft? Was it StarCraft that did it? Where you could sign up for specific times, and it has like mini tournament brackets that occur. I know Dota does that as well on Saturday nights, where it has like a battle cup, where basically based on your matchmaking rating, you get put into a team and you actually go through like a small mini tournament. There's so many ways to innovate competitively with this style of game, and it's incredible what like really like I think this team Second Dinner has shown that they're watching what other games have done, what they've done right, what they've done wrong, and everything that they've released has been top notch, and everything they've released has been innovative. So like as much as I want to like make suggestions, they continuously surprise us with what they release.
Yeah, I think the new competitive modes was the most overlooked. I know I did a video talking about all that, and I kind of brushed by it. This could be anything, really anything. And
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of ways that they can expand. They could do, just really encourage deck building and say, okay, for this ladder build in this tournament, pool one only, right? Or whatever. It doesn't have to be pool one only, but that's just a suggestion. Draft mode, plenty of people want that. That could be a new competitive mode that they add in. They could add in different systems where maybe you get to play with cards that you don't even own yet. But then you do, like you said, you could do health battles. There's a lot of things that I think that they can introduce. With it being competitive, they really probably have to nail down what they want to do. I think there's things that are crazy to execute, which would be awesome, like 2v2 or whatever. Right now, we know Marvel Snap has 3 locations with our 12 deck cards. So it's interesting to see how that's going to expand now and in the future, because even adding one more location, if they were bold enough to do it in a mode, would just change the game, right? So I don't know if that'll ever come. Don't think they're gonna get away from the core-ness of the game, but the new modes are always interesting. Draft modes have been some of the most fun that I've had in Snap. So those are the new competitive modes. We're gonna have to see what that looks like all together. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at the in concept section. Now, in concept, we've got guilds, social systems, which is what exactly Alex wanted the most. Infinity ranked leaderboards, collectible emotes, and card emojis. Alex, we hit that on the head the other day. That's what we wanted.
We
dude.
absolutely called it.
That was awesome, man. Mythic variants, which I've got some words for that. Booster magnets, avatar titles by deck, PC controller support, season cache improvements, and in-game events. Honestly, for the most part, home run, dude. Home run hit on those categories. I think there's a lot in there, man. That's the stuff I want to see. Those are the things we already talked about. We don't have to go in huge detail about events and all that. We've already talked about what we'd like to see there, but they've addressed it, and that's fantastic, huh?
Yeah, and the one that really stuck out to me, despite the fact that like obviously I want the social systems, the one that stuck out to me was the PC controller support. Because if you have PC controller support, you're probably going to bake in controller support for Xbox, for PlayStation,
No reason you
Nintendo
want it.
Switch.
Yep, no reason you want it, right? No reason you wouldn't do that. And maybe that's why they're doing smart decks, like trying to get more accessible just like to the casual player. I think also for disabilities, I've seen that a lot. That's a big thing why PC controller support will be in there as well. But yes, I do love that you're calling that out, and it's very interesting that that's at least in the talks. And this game's already so big, to add that to console would be just insane, dude. I would never play with a controller myself, but I do like it and the possibility. Now, collectible emotes, I'm all for that. Trust me, that's a big one for me. Now, let's quickly, on like not a negative side, but mythic variants, right? So, you know me, man. Like, I like my variants. Like, there's no shying away from that, guys. With variants, this is really what they've got to do. There is nobody. I don't think there's anybody that's going to buy variants from the collectors. There's no way that you're spending that much on the collectors, on collector tokens to unlock a new variant, right? Because they're so expensive. Why they price them that high is because they don't want it to be a card unlock for that variant. So like Black Panther, I've seen like it's 5,000 whatever tokens. And it's like, okay, well, you're getting Black Panther if you don't have them. So that's also like a 2-for-1 special. They might have to rework that. If you get a variant, you don't get the, I don't know. Maybe that's how they do it. They have to rework rare variants, and I don't know how they're going to do it yet. I don't know if there's its own rotation and pinning, because I'm not sure. Mythic variants are exciting. Anytime there are new variants, I'm actually pumped for it. Art is the best thing behind the game. How they introduce it, I don't know, because right now I'm not crazy about, like, dude, there's a Gamora knife variant that's the coolest card I've seen in the game. Like, I think it's the coolest looking card. It's collector tokens. I'm not buying that. There's no way. So I think that's exciting. I hope that they kind of look at that. What's one that you have a negative on? Just curious.
Okay, so the thing that really caught me by surprise in the roadmap, and again, I'm not a developer, so I really don't know what goes into these things. But when I saw in concept that season cash improvements was that far out, I was like, oh, come on, man. I'm like, how hard can it be to improve the season cash? It feels so terrible as it is. Again, I'm not a dev, but I really would have hoped that was a little closer up. I don't even think they have to do that much to make it better. It just needs to be better.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like the resources feel like they need to be adjusted, and some of the percentages, and I think maybe that can happen a lot quicker if they're doing like a whole rehaul. Maybe that's why it's in there, and that's kind of what I was talking about with the smart decks. I'm like, hey, cool, yeah, awesome. Do the other stuff that I think people are more kind of focused on at the moment. I would definitely say, yeah, I think that's something. Resources should be something they could just like do on a clicker and just knock them up a little bit. But as far as maybe redoing how it works, that's probably something maybe they're looking into, especially down the line when like all of our collections are filled out at that point. Like, for free-to-play players, it's only like 6 months to get a full collection, and even lower now that Token Shop's out. So, like, I'm curious of what their game plan is down that line and how they're going to do that. So that might be what they're talking about, but I do agree. Booster magnets is something that people probably are like, what? But for if you've been playing for a while, it can be tough to get boosters on cards that you actually want to do, and the RNG system is kind of annoying. So I like that, if you get a brand new Ultron variant, you can slap a magnet on there is what I probably think is going to happen, and get some extra boosters. Looking at the rest of it, Infinity Ranked Leaderboard was something I was hoping was in development, to be honest, but we can wait on that because we are getting competitive mode, and quite honestly, that's going to carry really the competitiveness of this game for a while. And in-game events, dude, this is probably something that is like they could do so much with. They can make this so hype. They can do so much behind in-game events and truly bring community together. If you've got that bar slapped in the middle of the screen and you can pick Avengers or villains or heroes and villains, and the winning side gets more gold than the losing side, both get something, whatever, okay? And you see that battle on a constant basis, that's cool, man. That's exciting.
Yeah, it is. And again, anytime you add like community interaction, or like we talked about it last week, how like there was the the Hype Your DJ event, like I didn't even know what was happening for the first 4 days.
Yeah.
And so by allowing it to have a footprint within the clients on both PC and in mobile, I think that's good for everybody. And I mean, again, community involvement is what keeps this game alive.
Absolutely. Well, let's go and move on. That's going to be our development roadmap and the main points of it, and we can expect all those to come in the new year. Devs are usually going to take off right around now till at least probably the first week of January, and they deserve it. They've been busting their butts off since release. So now we're going to move on to our card subject of today. We've got what cards are worth the best value. What do we mean by value? Energy spent, power you get, right? Typically is what that's going to mean, or what you get from that card and when you have to play it. Now, right now, people are finally realizing good cards are good cards and plug them in to a lot of different decks, Alex. So I want to go ahead and talk about a list of great cards with awesome value, and I want you to kick it off.
I want to talk about a card that this is actually kind of the inspiration for the list, because it's a card that I think goes underappreciated because it has a neat effect, but its power is nothing to scoff at. I want to talk about Polaris. It's a 3/5. And what's interesting about Polaris is when you consider it along the lines of like what Swordmaster does with the discard. So that you have a discard that is a 3/6. Okay, big power. But Polaris, its ability is amazing, especially when you have someone like Morales on the other side, or like there's so much disruption that occurs in like, pulling a Bucky Barnes away from a Carnage, or
pulling an armor,
all those types of things. Polaris, I think, is way better than people give credit for. And as a 3/5, that's pretty damn legit. And so it's one of those cards, yes, Maximus is a 3/7, and Maximus we're going to talk about too. But like Maximus has a downside that needs to be mitigated. Or does it? I mean, we've talked about that too. But Polaris, I think you could play with confidence, and I rarely feel like it's ever a disadvantage.
Yep, one of my favorite underrated cards. I think my first or second YouTube video I made was underrated cards, and Polaris was on there because she is great. The con to her is a pro. Armor is played everywhere. Heck, throw in your destroy decks, and then you can control that armor that's messing up your lane. You can use her in other ways, like Invisible Woman. We're going to see her more often. Guys, playing Polaris on a Hela deck on turn 5 is is so mean. It's so mean. Or turn 4 before that. That is a massive play, and definitely agree just on just value that you're getting, just in regards to just the ability, but also on top of that, and one that can commonly fill those Thors and Maximus that you're seeing around. Now, speaking of those two that we just talked about, I have way more to talk about in other kind of costs. But yes, Maximus right now, king of Value Town, the mayor. He's running the shop. Wow. Where do you not play this card, man? Played on turn 6, played on a flooded location or flooding location. He has a 7 whopping value with very little downside. Yes, you're going to give your opponent up into like the 90% range to get the cards they need to do a combo. That's the worst thing that comes out of Maximus, right? And oftentimes, you can just look at their hand size and play him and be like, they're not even going to get the bonus, out of playing him. So I think he's up there. But also Thor. Thor is, even though he's a 3-4, and you do have to rely on his hammer, that value, man. I get his hammer, I would say, way more often than not. And I do like him. It's a bit sketchy. Value, he's probably another, like, value is at what, power to energy rate. But he's another card that I would kind of include in that bunch that is just solid. You've got almost Polaris's level of power, and then it goes up by 6. A 310? A 310, Alex? That's insane.
Another card that's definitely worth talking about, and I know you're going to think I'm crazy, but can we just talk about Hulk? Like, seriously? Like, Hulk is a 612. Yes, I know he does not do what Magneto does, but I have an argument against Magneto versus Hulk. Because Magneto's going to drag dudes in the end. If you don't have Kingpin, you're going to have to man fight those dudes you drag in. Hulk just comes down as a 612. If Magneto's dragging Bishop, if Magneto's dragging Polaris, that's value he has to contend with in the lane. Hulk just doesn't care. Just comes down, Hulk smash, Hulk win.
Yeah, I mean, for sure.
I don't know, man. It's pure value.
For those early in pool 3, I think he's like, for sure. And I agree. I mean, to a lot of extent, like Patriot decks, man, like massive Value Town, man. You're getting a lane winner with the Hulk. I like it. I think that's a fun pull. I think that's definitely different out there. And like, talk about a card that's so true to the character. Like, just smashes, just a big power card. And I think he kind of sets the standard of power around him, because you can't have too much, too little, unless they have cons or pros, up and down from that level, right? Like Giganto 14, but you can only play him on the left side. I like it. I like the Hulk pull. Value-wise, if we're talking about kind of cheaper cards, I want to go down to 2 cost, and then I've got some 4 cost as well. Value-wise, first of all, just 2 cost cards. They've already adjusted. Guys, we're going to quickly blow through some of these because you know them too much. Angela, yes, best value. You've got Mysterio, adjusted, still good value because you get some bonus off them. Lizard is one that's finally people are seeing. Lizard is a great card because you are telling the opponent that if you want to beat this card in the value and the initiative that you're going to get from the card, you've got to play 4 cards over there. And then you kind of know what their strategy's doing. You're kind of dictating the lane they've got to play into. Lizard for value, 2-5 is nuts, Alex. Nuts. I mean, Lizard's in the majority of my decks.
Yeah, and obviously, like, a nice combination is playing Storm on top, which really restricts their ability to zoo into the Lizard anyway.
Yep.
So you play Lizard, and then you have a 2-5, and then Storm comes on top, and yeah, she's a 3-2, but Lizard mitigates that loss of power. And what are the chances they zoo 4 cards into that lane?
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. I mean, no question. Especially if you want that first initiative and you want to kind of control the opponent, this is the card to play. Ebony Maw under Invisible Woman. Carnage is also just the king of Value Town as well. Huge value for the cost you're playing at with little cons to them. But I want to talk some 4-cost cards. Now, there are some in here that people don't realize that are definitely like value central, man. And I've got 2 for you. I got 2 for you in here. First of all, the White Queen. I love White Queen. Now, 4-6, okay, right? Good stat line. Not the best, not the worst. Middle of the pack. Not even middle. Yeah, upper of the pack, I would say, actually.
Definitely upper of the pack.
Yeah, like way upper. But the thing is, outside of the 4-6 value, you're getting a copy of a card, okay? But then on top of that, you're also getting intelligence. You're getting to see what your opponent's going to do. This card is being played in so many decks, and it's one of my favorites because you get to see if your opponent has a leader, if they're going for a Onslaught Patriot play, if they're going for a Dr. Doom spread. Like, that is where she's always going to get that value out of White Queen, and is one of my favorites in this variant. And quickly, Alex, I do want to also just point out, one guy that's slept on for value all the time, might be one of the best of Value Town, and will be moving forward, is Miles Morales. Talk about not just the mayor, runs the damn city. A 1-5, a 4-5, okay, a 1-5, a 1-5 that is easy to become a 1-5. It's easy to get a 1-5, man. He's not a hard card to activate.
I'm so glad you brought it up because when I talked in my tier list about Miles Morales, and I said that if you're a move deck player, or if you want to play Disruption with Polaris, or you have plans to disrupt people's hands or play move decks, Morales is an insane card that comes out with incredible value. And people are like, Morales sucks, Morales sucks. I'm like, you guys are sleeping on Miles Morales. This card is so good. Nightcrawler, you can just control when Morales becomes a 1. Polaris, you play an additional 3 plus Morales on the turn 4. It's insane. Miles Morales is a damn good card. In fact, I think they designed Miles Morales to try and lift the move decks ever so slightly. It just wasn't quite enough. It just wasn't quite enough. But Morales itself is a fantastic card.
And I think that's where people got he was the first season pass. And so people are like, move decks, right? Like, he doesn't really do much for my move deck. Nowadays, people are seeing what he's doing better. One thing I like about him, and it doesn't work as a pure counter because he still is going to cost a lot of the energy that you have to play. But one thing I'll say without question is he does counter the Death Wave, Wave 5. He is not affected by Death Wave. I don't think people realize Wave does not take him to 4 cost. If you moved a card, damn it, he's going to be 1 cost, and that is massive. Massive, massive, and you still have some other energy to spin on 5 or on turn 6. So that's huge. At the same time, guys, arrows are happening, magnetos are happening, so your opponent's going to allow you to also trigger, which is great. Now, I will say this, putting him with Moon Girl is my favorite thing that's not talked about. It is getting 2 of these guys, 2 1-5s, is seriously a game changer, Alex. Miles Morales, I had to talk about him with value cards that definitely is not talked about enough in this game. Another card that I keep seeing, and he's rising into my book. He's kind of a discount of some other characters, but man, Warpath is also just fantastic value. A 4-9? A 4-9 that you can mostly control? Mostly? Outside of arrows? If arrow gets nerfed, he's going to get even better.
Warpath's really good. I think he was really, really shining in the limelight when the Destroyer list became extremely popular. And Warpath as a 4-9 is like so consistent. And the nice thing about it was played in the armor lane. So like it's a 4-9, it can't get punched out by Shang-Chi because it's sitting in armor, because Destroyer's being played on the other side. So it was incredible. Warpath was one of those cards that like kind of sat unused for so long.
Yeah.
And then people were like, wait a minute, if we play Destroyer over here and Warpath's over there, oh, those are free cubes. So Warpath came like storming into that meta.
And you can use him in control decks. If you storm something down, if you flood something, you can use him in control decks. He has a lot of kind of versatile uses. The last couple of cards I'll talk about, on the subject of move, now Jessica Jones is a 4 cost, we didn't say, obviously good value. But another one in the move category, Cloak, obviously. Cloak is insane. 2-4, great value as long as you have them in the right decks. Vulture also, just for what you're getting out of the card, I think is another, if you're big. You guys are noticing move decks do have some actually pretty solid value. I think that's where they make up in lack of huge power. But Alex, the last card I kind of want to talk about, and you know, it is a Series 4. She-Hulk is the definition, I think, of the best value card. Death is great in his value, obviously, of a 0-12 or a 2-12. But She-Hulk, you can control in any deck, and you can play her on turn 4 as a 4-10. As a 4-10 by just not doing something on 3, right? Or even just doing a 1 cost on turn 3. A 4-10 is as good as Typhoid for starters, okay, with no con. And then you can also get her at a 1-10 or a 0-10 as well. She's the definition of just the best raw value to power, no?
Yeah, she's absolutely incredible. And the nice thing about it is like you have agency over how you play She-Hulk. And I think that's an amazing thing. And it's kind of a card that like, unlike Typhoid Mary or Red Skull, where you need to like rely on Zero or rely on Nicolas Cage, ultimately She-Hulk's a card that relies on nobody. Yep. She-Hulk's a card that can do her own thing, and that's what makes it so versatile.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Do you have any other cards? I have one that I talk about all the time, and I'll
I
just
got one more for you.
get
I
hit
got
me,
one more in the
hit me,
fours.
hit me.
And it's funny because when we were talking on your channel, we were talking about Spectrum and how Spectrum's being underplayed. And there's a card that works amazingly well with Spectrum, and his name is Namor or Namor. I'm not sure. Every time I say it, I have half of YouTube comment section telling me I'm saying Namor wrong. The other half telling me I'm saying Namor wrong. I don't know what to say anymore,
I
guys.
think it's Nay
So
like
I'm
a
just gonna call him
horse.
Cristiano Ronaldo for now on because that's what he looks like. And listen, this is a 410. It's a 410 in a solo lane. Absolutely clutch card. You hit it with Spectrum Wong. It's a 414. Like it's unbelievable. It is such a good card. Like I have videos, some of my first videos I made in like July and August playing Marvel Snap was Namor solo carrying lanes because like people just like don't really appreciate how good this card is. Like it is a solo lane winner. It almost reaches the same power level with Wong going lists as a destroyer. This is a good card.
Dude, agreed. I love what I like about him most too is you're keeping 4 cost, and like even if your opponent wants to commit so hard there, like it forces them to change their strategy. Oh well, they can send a green goblin. Go ahead, waste your energy. I'll work on the other lanes. Like, and even if you send green goblin, you still have to match. Decent. You have to put out something else on that lane. So I do 100% agree. I actually tried him out with Sherry for a bit. He was a 415. I mean, you have to put obviously. Yeah, Sherry's play there. But that was kind of nasty. I'm like, that is a destroyer lane by itself, So I like the card. Atuma, obviously, same kind of value as long as he's the only card there. A great card. And I love that Namor was definitely one that you brought up, or Ronaldo, as you would say. And guys, we talked about a ton on the underrated cards. But a 4/9 in rescue, also value. So those are the biggest cards that I would say have the most behind them in the oomph factor. If you guys have any others, comment them down below in audio. Shout them to the void. Alex, any last ones, or is that where we are going to end today's episode?
Buddy, I think that we nailed it this week. I think that we got the right ones. And it's funny because I was going to say Jessica Jones and you slid it in like as you were transitioning to another conversation. So Cozy, you're already on the ball, buddy. You're always on the ball.
Well, I'm trying to take care of you because you got that voice and you got to rest up, my friend. Guys, any of you guys that, maybe came here for the sexy Alex voice, it'll be back. It'll be back next week. And hopefully, small round of applause, just grinding that out, man. And thank you for coming. Things we announced, we are going to be having guests in the future coming on a bi-weekly-ish basis. People from Second Dinner. We have other content creators. We've seen the feedback. Definitely want to have it as well. And Alex, I'll allow you to do the intro. What do you got?
You mean the outro?
The outro intro. Yeah.
All right, buddy. Thank you so much for joining us today, guys. We really appreciate your support. If you're watching on video, be sure to download the audio versions as well. They're a ton of fun for your drive to work and your morning jog. Thank you so much, guys, and we'll see you in that next Snapchat episode.
Bye, guys.